all your school rugby, all in one place. This is NextGenXV.
Alright guys, welcome to NextGen15, and in today's video we are going to be doing a deep dive on the 2021 Junior Springbok squad. So if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released you'll be the first to know. So obviously there's been rumors and a bit of back and forth. I've spoken to a couple of people and apparently there have been injuries and there have been COVID situations as far as I'm aware. So the initial squad that's listed on here has changed somewhat, but I don't have all that information available. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do an analysis on the initial squad that was announced, and you could basically go on our website nextgen15.com, that's nextgenxv.com, and we'll have any updates and squad changes there for you. We're just waiting on final confirmation. So let's get into it. First we'll start off with the props, and Blaine Golden was obviously one of the first names on the list. Old Glenwood boy, highly rated within the South African youth system. SA schools player, so it's come through the pathway quite nicely. Then Corne Valbach. Now Corne wasn't part of the SA schools reckoning, in the past. He never made an SA schools team because he matriculated in 2020, so there wasn't a chance. But nearly everyone is adamant he would have made the team. He's an immensely powerful young player, very highly rated, especially at the Western Province. Was definitely part of a very solid porous pack, and one definitely believes that that this guy's definitely got a massive future in the game. He's very highly rated within the South African structures. Then obviously Jan-Hendrik Wessels, we don't need to elaborate too much on him. We've talked about him a heck of a lot. He's already made his senior debut for the Bulls. Jake Watts referred to him as the next Oyster run 1 second and another second. There's rumors that he might be playing hooker, so we won't quite know, but it should be interesting to see. But whatever happens, Jan-Hendrik is one of those promising players that definitely is a source of pride for South African rugby. Then we have Nolan Pienaar, very much under the radar, Nolan. I think like a lot of people outside school rugby probably haven't heard of him, but Menlo Park have produced some very powerful forwards over the last couple of years. He's one of them, really highly rated. I personally rate him very highly. He's going to add a lot of steel to the front row, and an excellent selection, and someone that definitely deserves his place here. And then finally, Sibo Shongwe, the Jeppy old boy, very mobile player, deceptively quick for a prop. First time I really took notice of his talents was at the World Schools Festival. He was all over the place, scored a great try. Nothing more magnificent than seeing a prop in full flight. And, it's going to be very interesting to see where they sort of see Sibo fitting into the system over here. Is he going to be an impact player? Is he going to be a starter? That sort of remains to be seen. Moving on to the hookers. First up, Andre Hugo Venter. It's just been an absolutely meteoric rise for this young talent. Now, a lot of players don't want to be compared to their fathers because it's quite hard, but it's especially hard when your father's an absolute legend like Andre Venter, the flank, one of the best Springboks of all time, one will say. But Andre's on his own journey, Andre Hugo, and he's having a fantastic journey at that. Did very well for Western Province under 21, moved up the rankings and has done very well for Marties as well. And his selection to South Africa under 20 should surprise no one. He's an immensely talented individual, and he made consider his age that he's under 20 and he performed like he did at the Varsity Cup. It just shows you that rugby's in the boys' blood, and he's definitely going to go far in this game. Next up, Jacques Goosen from Selborne College. We haven't seen Jacques play for a couple of years, obviously because of the Koof situation, and also like there's been a few niggling injuries, but you don't lose that talent overnight. And he played SA Schools 2 years running, SA Schools captain in his grade 12 year. Sharks were very lucky to get him. There's a lot of reunions after this young guy, and I can't wait to see him back in action. I think anyone would have selected Jacques within their squad. Next up, we're looking at the locks, and Reynard Ludwig. I'm so happy for this young guy. He's a very, very nice, young, talented player, very humble, and I'm immensely happy for him because, if anyone deserves an opportunity, it's him. I thought he was going to be one of the best locks in the country last year. I think he had SA Schools written all over him, and obviously the situation that happened, he wasn't able to get his South African Schools colours. So I'm immensely proud of him that he was able to get his SA under 20 colours. Absolute unit, absolutely talented, very mobile, great in the lineouts, very athletic player, And I'm just, like I say, very happy for him. It couldn't happen to a nicer kid. Next up, Reynard Roots. He's a Gasfontein old boy, and Gasfontein have produced some solid forwards as well over the last couple of years. I think he's going to add a lot more beef to the pack. He's more of an enforcer. So if you take a look at him and Reynard, they're very different profiles of lock, and very, very talented locks at that. So you definitely got a feeling that he's going to add a lot in terms of the bulk, and be more of an enforcer and allow Reynard to play his natural game if they are combined together. Then we have Dylan DeLew, over 2 meters tall, under 20, played for Marties in the Varsity Cup, performed admirably. Immense talent, old porous boy, and glad to see him get his chance. And then Simon Miller. If I have to compare Simon to anyone, I really see a lot of Peter Steph de Toy in him, someone that can cover the 7 role as well as lock. He was very, very good in the Varsity Cup, especially when you consider his relative youth. I thought he did very, very well in the Varsity Cup, and I think that it's going to be a great selection to see him in here. Like I said, he can cover multiple positions, comes from a smaller school in St. Albans, so he had to work extra hard to get noticed, and boy did he get noticed. Very, very talented guy, and definitely one feels that he's going to go far in this game. Then in terms of the loose forwards, George Cranier, he's already played men's senior rugby for the Cheetahs. He's been immense for them. Everyone's looking at him. I think he's got a massive future in the game, such leadership ability, and he's shown from a young age that he's got the work rate, he's got the right attitude, all the ingredients. So it's just not only about natural talent, it's also about the hard work. And you definitely know that George puts in the hard work. He was a superstar at school, never let that get to his head. Went over to France, decided to come back to the Cheetahs so you'd actually get a clear pathway and opportunity to start games, and immediately started, immediately impressed. He's a hell of a player, a hell of a selection, yeah. Izon Esterhazen, this guy's very underappreciated. He's a big boy. I think I see a lot of Dwan Vermeulen in him. He's a ball-carrying number 8, a lot of power, very physical player. Highly rated at school. Unfortunately, in 2019, I believe early in the season, he suffered an injury, so it put him out just for a little bit. But he still made the South African schools A team, I believe. And just another very talented guy, and a very, very good selection here, I feel. To be honest with you, if you asked me if he would have been selected for the squad, I wouldn't have seen it coming. But I'm very happy for him, and I'm definitely not disappointed by his selection. I think he's a hell of a talent, so it's going to be interesting. It's sort of coming together in terms of what Bafana Nhleko's tactics are here, so to speak, but we'll get to that later. Renan Mouton, if I were to compare him to a pro player, I just see 100% all over him. He's an absolute menace on the ground, guys. He's an absolute menace. He just doesn't stop. High work rate, high fitness rate, all over the field. Monas lost their first game against Paul Boys in 2020. And to be the man of the match in that game on the losing side says a lot about his quality, especially when you take a look at the quality that is opposite him. But yeah, Reynard is just an exceptional player, and I think this is a very smart selection. I don't think a lot of people would have seen this coming, but highly, highly intelligent selection over here. Then Sian Giza, very happy for him as well. Now, you remember in the video that we did last year, like a South African schools prediction, a lot of people said they were quite surprised by us saying Sia would have been in the SA schools team. Now, as an under 19, he's SA under 20. So I think it more than justifies, our sort of selection of him last year. I think this guy's very underappreciated as a talent, and I think he's going to really show guys in the near future what he's about. If you take a look at his pathway, where he came from, what he had to do to be able to get to the level he's at now, it takes tremendous character. And of course, rugby is a game like all sports where character really is going to define your future. So very happy for Sia. And talking about character, another great character, Sasco Ndlovu from Northwood, another guy that took the path less taken. Northwood, the rugby program's improving all the time, but you would not call them one of the major programs in South Africa. And Sasco, like many other guys from smaller schools, really had to work hard to stand out, and boy did he stand out. You definitely got to feed in Sasco is going to make some real moves in the next couple of years. Then scrum halves, Bobby Alexander, another guy we've spoken about a lot, started for Marties this year, had a great varsity cup. To me, one of the best scrum halves in the tournament. Bobby's just a player that, basically personifies grit and determination. And, I love the way that he recycles the ball quickly. I love his attitude on the field. I think it's fantastic. And then Nico Steyn. Now, apparently Nico's been injured and he's going to be replaced by Bradley Davids, who's also an old Pole gym boy. So it just goes to show you the quality that's coming out of that school. But Nico was the winner of our MVP competition last year. We've spoken about him a hell of a lot as well, and for good reason. We've rated Nico since his grade 11 year when we saw his game against John McGlashan from New Zealand. In that first game that I saw of him, I just knew that that was a star that was born. I just really, really rate him. And if it is true that he's injured, it's very unfortunate. Moving on to fly halves, Jordan Hendrickse. I mean, if there's anyone that deserves his place here, it's him. You know, when you've got a brother that's as talented as Jaden, you might feel somewhat overshadowed, but Jordan hasn't been overshadowed at all. And if you take a look at his performances for the Lions in the Currie Cup, he just seems like a natural. He's really taken the step up to men's rugby and hasn't shown any nerves. He's got a lot of confidence in his game, and he deserves to have that confidence in his game. And you need that confidence, especially if you're going to be playing at pivot. So fantastic performances by him of late, and he's definitely going to be one of the leaders in this team, no doubt about it. And then, of course, Sashim Gormazulu, another guy that we've spoken about a heck of a lot. And if he wasn't selected in the squad, we would not have been very happy, because he should be on the pathway for higher honours. There's no doubt about it. Sash is an exceptionally talented player. Like I said, we've spoken about him a lot. We named him in our World Schools 15 last year. There's not someone at school level that I've rated like as highly as Sasha, in all fairness. You know, you just look at the future of South African fly-off stocks. I mean, you got Sasha, you got Jordan, but Jordan can cover fullback as well. And of course, you've got Kate Volhitter. So the future is looking very, very good in terms of our depth. And yeah, I don't need to say much more about Sasha. You guys know what our thoughts are of him. Centres, Kanan Moody. This was a bit of a bolter, I think, wasn't it? As far as I know, he's still under 19 this year. Boyland Landbou youngster, didn't really get a chance to showcase much of his talent last year, but very, very quick, very solid on defence, very, very good rugby IQ, plays off the cuff very well. You know, like, you can basically create space out of nothing, and he's very easy on the eye in terms of watching him play. Very entertaining player to watch, and I think this is someone that can add a lot of a different dynamic to the team, especially if he had to come on, for example, as a super sub. I think he could like turn a game on its head. Then Henko van Wyk, arguably the best under 20/under 21 centre in the world. I mean, to perform like he did in the Varsity Cup this year, especially when you consider how, I'm just going to say it, badly coached Wits were this year. They weren't coached well this year. They had a problem at pivot, supplying ball to their outside backs and their centres. I mean, when you got Henko van Wyk and Gia Selengbe, and you're not scoring 4 or 5 tries a game, and, you know, like, not finishing the top half. I mean, I predicted Wits to win the Varsity Cup this year, and, you know, they were closer to the bottom than they were to the top, and it wasn't for a lack of talent. And Henko is, you know, he had some outstanding performances on defence and offence as well. To me, he's a complete centre, and happy to see him. Yeah, I think he's going to cause some real damage in this tournament, and once this tournament's done, a lot more people are going to know his name. And then Mambo Mkhize, lovely to see Mambo there. To me, the Sonny Bill Williams of South African centres, hands that are unreal, offloads that are unreal, opening in space. I saw someone sent me a video of him, you know, during a practice session. Didn't recognize him. You might struggle to recognize him as well. He's got a bit of a blonde thing going on right now. So yeah, like, let's just say he'll stand out for more than he's played this year. Okay, moving on. Tyler Box, another exceptional centre. Paul Boy's old boy, currently contracted at the Lions. I believe he's just signed a new contract there. Very highly rated. Very solid player. Him and Quan Horn were an absolutely lethal centre combination at school level. And yeah, I mean, someone no doubt deserves his place. Zillinger Stradle, very interesting to select him at centre, especially when you consider that, I mean, like, he played a lot as a fullback, but he went to France, came back. Happy to have him back. The guy's he's a unit. He's a very big boy, deceptively quick, very powerful, adds some physicality to the back line. So you can start seeing Bafana's plan come into place here. But again, we'll discuss it a bit later. Ethan James, what a selection over here. I think, like, you know, you could argue about other centres out there and all the rest of it. especially when Ethan didn't have a 2020 full 2020 season. But as a 2019, as a grade 11, he was one of the best centers in the country. He was very unlucky, in my opinion, not to be in the SA school squad. Absolutely delighted for him. I've had a chance to speak to this guy as well. Also a hell of a great youngster, great character. And I definitely hope to see him get a run on. But I think it's a great selection. I think a bit of a masterstroke, if you ask me. I'm just wait until you see him in action. That's all I'll say. Outside backs, only 2. But Dalvin Blood, very interesting one, yeah. I mean, Dalvin never played SA schools, part of the Sevens Academy. So, the high performance squad for the Sevens, I believe. Now, interesting, because to me, when I heard that, I thought to myself, while they're preparing for a career in Sevens, maybe 24, 25 years old, he might make the transition to the senior game, sort of like Sinatla, early to mid-20s. But yeah, I think there's big plans for Dalvin, especially when you consider that he's been selected in the squad. No slouch, very, very quick player, very powerful, deceptively strong, eye for the gap, almost a complete outside back in a lot of ways, especially at school level. And he was a Rondebosch old boy. And Rondebosch, they do struggle. A lot of schools do against the Wineland schools, are a lot more powerful, and all the rest of it, more depth. But his try against Poldrum was one of the best I've seen at school level, and it just goes to show his natural ability to just make magic happen out of nothing. He's a game breaker. And then Kerwin Gertze, another guy that we named in our World Schools 15 last year, and you have to, if you follow rugby even a little bit at junior level, if you haven't heard of this guy, you've been living under a rock. He's a generational talent. Honestly, he's a generational talent. To me, it was a travesty that he never made SA schools in his grade 11 year. I think he should have been a starter for South African schools in his grade 11 year. He was, to me, the best wing in the country. I mean, his ability to open up play, the sheer speed, his eye for the gap. He's a complete outside back, and he could also play at centre as well. But the sheer speed of the kid is unreal, and pace off the mark as well. Again, someone we've spoken about a heck of a lot, but it's again very strange to me. He didn't make SA schools in grade 11, and obviously because of the COOF pandemic, he wasn't able to make SA schools in 2020. But straight after leaving school, he's in the South African under-20 mix, and that just goes to show you that he is highly rated in the South African system. And to me, that's fantastic. It just means that he's going to be looked after and nurtured, because if he gets looked after properly, he will become a world-class wing. He will become a household name in the next 4 to 5 years. I really do believe it. I rate him extremely highly. Let's just say it like that, if that's not obvious. Okay, so let's take a look at the positives. This is a very dynamic team to me. There's size, the South African strength normally. There's like our size and our physicality, but there's also that quick speed, dynamic approach to the game. So I think it's a very interesting mix of strength and power, and taking like a modern South African look at the game, but still appreciating our original strengths, if you understand what I mean. I really like the fact that there's a strong under-19 spine for next year's under-20 World Cup. So it's obvious what Buffon has done is he's taken a look at the squad and said, right, I'm going to take, say, 8 to 10 players who I feel will be the spine for the next under-20 World Cup. And he's identified those guys and he's put them in here, and I think that's brilliant. So you take a look at, there's maybe 3 to 5 under-19 players that probably could have been replaced by under-20 players. You could argue it, you know what I mean? You could argue and say, right, maybe this under-20 player deserved the place more than this under-19 player. But there's a plan in place, in my opinion. There's continuity in terms of the player pathway. A lot of these guys played SA schools and Craven Week and all the rest of it. I think that's fantastic as well. Now, there's also the case of the showcasing the depth in spite of injuries. There's been a lot of injuries. I mean, Keke Morabe is not there, for example. Nico Staines out, and Bradley Davids is replacing him, who's also a fantastic player and an under-19. There's like 5 or 6 players that are injured that could easily be in the mix over here, guys. And I still think this is a very strong squad, despite what a lot of naysayers say. It's also showcasing an exciting future for South African rugby. I think that goes without saying. So the challenges, obviously there's been a year of no rugby, so the guys might be a bit raw, so to speak. We're going to be facing the Georgians and Argentinians and even Uruguay. These are countries that are known for their size and like brute strength. So there might be a bit of a challenge in terms of our forward pack size. The scrum is obviously something. We are facing Georgia and Argentina are traditionally the strongest scrummages in world rugby. So it's going to be a massive challenge for these boys to front up to that. There's also a bit of a concern in terms of balance. And by balance, there's only 2 specialist outside backs. So you get a feeling that could complicate things a little bit. So I'm just a little bit concerned about that. Which I say, like back 3 depth, that's my major concern. And also I'm sort of thinking to myself, are we playing according to a system? Are we looking at continuity? So like we got a certain profile in our back 3 now in Villiers Leroux, Colby and Spoon Corsi, right? We got a certain profile of player. So surely our under 20 and SA school squad should be similar profiles of players, because if you're going to use the same tactics, you want to ideally have the same type of player profile. So do we have that at the moment? I'm not sure. But again, maybe this is more about looking towards next year. So in terms of predicted 15, Jan-Hendrik Wessels at Lucid, I think that goes without saying. I think Andre Hugo-Venter will probably start at hooker just because he's had a bit more playing time. Sibo Shongwe at tight head. I think... there might be a case of him coming as an impact player, but from what I've heard, I think that he might be a starter. Then my locks, Simon Miller and Dylan Liu, both athletic, both dynamic, and obviously Simon's also going to offer an extra option as a fetcher. And then Sian Giza at blindside, open side George Cronier, then Izon Esthuizen at 8th man. I definitely think that's more than likely to be the loose 4 trio. Offer a lot of balance between them, complement each other. Izon and George got that sort of brute strength. Sia's got pace, ability on the ground. So that should be quite interesting. So, you got Sia and Simon that are going to be very, very good on the ground, stealing ball. And then George and Izon obviously can clear. And then Dylan's obviously going to be your specialist line-out guy. Halfbacks, I'm thinking Bobby Alexander and Jordan Hendrickse. Bobby, goes without saying, started for Marties this year. Jordan, obviously, he's got senior rugby experience. Then left wing, Dalvin Blood. Like I said, in terms of specialist outside backs, there's few, but he's one of them. Then I think my centre combination would, not mine, but Bafana's probably would be Mamba Mkiza and Henko van Wyk. I think they're going to complement each other so well, and I honestly think this is a potential future Springbok centre pairing here. I think these guys are going to be playing a lot together in the future. They complement each other so well. Mamba can open up space. His offloading ability is fantastic. Henko is someone that if you put him into space, he's just going to go. Then right wing, obviously, Kerwin Gertze. Like I said, not a lot of other options out there in terms of the outside backs. But anyway, whatever happened, even if you had 20 outside backs, I'd have Kerwin. There's my starter. Fullback, Zillinger Stradom, I think. He's going to give you that size. He's very safe with his hands at the back. He's got experience playing there. And, obviously there are 3 games. So what you might find happening is that you might have a game where perhaps Jordan Hendrickse might go to fullback and Sasha go to Flower, for example. So we'll see what will happen here. But this is sort of what I think the starting lineup would look like. So my final thoughts, I think you got to look at the process over results. So, obviously we don't want to lose any games, but I think we should look at this as a process more than focusing completely on the results. I think genius selection. I think he's done very well here, Coach Bafana. And the reason why I say that is because he's basically going to go with a lighter pack to challenge the best scrummages in the world. And if this works, he's going to work off the tactic of having a highly mobile pack and go to the mentality of speed kills, very similar to how Grey College plays. But obviously, if they get nailed in the forward pack, then they have to go back to the drawing board. But if this works out, I think it's going to work out exceptionally well for us. It will change the dynamic of South African rugby in terms of our tactics, perhaps even. The development of those under 20 talents to the next phase of their career is absolutely fantastic. I think there's some great players here. And I just think the selection's on point. And there's a lot of people that actually said to me they felt that the squad as average, it could have been better. To me, if you consider the injuries and you consider some other factors, I really think this is a good squad. And also, I really think, the under-19 talent's been brought into the mix with 10 of them, which is a lot more than normal. Plus, the tactics mentioned above. I think everything's about looking towards the Under-20 World Cup next year because we need to bring it home. There's been too many bronze medals in the past, guys. We really need to bring this home. Anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks a lot for taking the time to watch this. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Obviously, there's a lot of players that are missing. I've had a lot of back and forth with a lot of different people about this, but for me personally, overall, I am quite happy with the squad, and I do think there's tremendous potential here, and I can't wait to see how it works out. And if we lose to these guys, obviously I'll be disappointed, but again, I'm looking at this in terms of a process rather than the final results. I would rather us lose a couple of games to Argentina and Georgia, for example. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I'd rather us lose these games and then win the Under-20 World Cup next year, because I'm so over third place finishes for the baby box, especially when we should have won 5 or 6 of these tournaments in terms of the talent we had at our disposal. Anyway, as always, have a great week further. Cheers. Bye.